Namaste everyone and welcome back to LiveStronger. Today we are going to work on our legs and straight away I'm going to start with the greatest stretch, the usual 5 repetitions on each side, making sure I unlock my mobility for the day pre-workout. I would recommend specifically today to make sure you feel the stretch in your hamstrings, your inner thighs, and your glutes. Focus, hold for 5 seconds at the upper turning point to make sure you feel the stretch because that's going to help us a lot in terms of doing our squats. One of the things which I always make sure before going into squats is to check my mobility in terms of my hips and my glutes, because if there is any kind of restriction there is when our squat form would go wrong or a little bit bad. Now for my next mobility work, I'm going to do the hip opener. Basically we have done this earlier every leg workout, so just grab a weight. If you don't want to, it's absolutely fine. Take a stance like I did in the video. Squeeze your glutes and lean onto your sides. Let the knee go way past your toes and feel the stretch in your inner thighs. 5 repetitions on each side. Hold for about 2 to 3 seconds at the stretch. Feel the stretch going on in your thighs and in your inner thighs and your outer thigh while we are doing on both sides. So we should be able to unlock our hips absolutely. Great hip opener for our squatting and lunging movements. Also relieves any kind of IT band tension. I have realized that because my left leg was stiff for a long time due to my IT band becoming absolutely tight. This particular drill helped me release that tension. Now for the next bit, we are going to start off with our warm up for squats. So this time for warm up, I have done 3 sets up to 12 repetitions with 30 seconds in break, 30 seconds break in between. Why? Because I just wanted to make sure my form remains correct and I'm properly warmed up in terms of my hips and my glutes. So I got 3 sets for my warm up. You might choose to do just 2 sets of these and it'll be absolutely fine. But if you're someone like me who feel there is a little bit of tightness, you can go for 3 sets of warm up. Do it quickly in terms of not taking much of a break. Make sure you feel every repetition. Make sure you go through the movement as much as possible completely. I also did couple of deep squat holds to just ensure that my quads are readily fired up. Now we move on to our working sets. In my working sets, I chose to stick to one weight, one challenging weight, which I was able to with which I was able to achieve 8 to 10 repetitions with proper form. Now you might want to progressively overload if you are not able to start with a challenging weight first off for the squats. So you can progressively overload even if it is just 2.5 kilos. It's absolutely fine. But if you want, you can stick to the same weight like I did. You can also always drop down the weight as the sets progress. If you feel you're tired, if your form is breaking down, you can always drop a little bit of weight and then get back to the squats. Make sure you get your 8 to 10 repetitions. I've done 5 sets in total. I tried to get all the angles possible so you can see me squatting properly. It's a pretty simple technique. Always, once the load is on your back, you take a deep breath, brace your core, and then slowly go down. And once you're down, just keep bracing your core, and just try to come back up and release your breath. Take good deep breath. That's absolutely important. Don't stop breathing, because if you stop breathing or if you hold your breath for too long, you might feel dizzy with the amount of weight on your back. Make sure you breathe with every repetition and take a big deep breath every time you come back up. Bracing should only happen through the down movement, and while coming back up, you can also start releasing the breath. And once you're completely up, release it completely, and then again take a big deep breath. I've done 8 to 10 repetitions for every set. I usually try to take open stance a little bit wider. It makes me not butt wink. Basically, my butt doesn't rotate inwards as I go down. So I like to take that stance. You can also choose to take a narrow stance. That's absolutely fine, but just ensure you don't get a butt wink. How do you observe that? You just have to record yourself doing it and see if your butt is winking as it goes down, it is turning inwards, then the load is shifting onto your lower back. Now, post my squats, I have started doing seated hamstring curls, 4 sets, 12 repetitions, as heavy as possible. Now, it would be a little bit challenging for you after squats jumping into the seated hamstrings, because if you have done the squats deep enough, your hamstrings and glutes would be completely worked up. So, you might find it a bit challenging, but nevertheless, make sure you load it as heavy as possible on the first set itself. You can always drop the weight in the next set if it feels quite difficult to achieve those 12 repetitions, and that's what I have exactly done for my fourth set, wherein once I was not able to get more than 6 to 7 repetitions, as you can see, I was about to fail in my fourth set. I immediately stopped, dropped some weight, went back to almost my less than my first set's weight, and then got another 5 to 6 repetitions to close my 12 repetition mark. Our hamstrings can take a beating, so you can go ahead and give it a beating. And since we are doing this as an equipment based exercise, we have the liberty to go a little bit stronger and at a higher intensity, because our form will not fail very easily given the fixed nature of the equipment. For my next exercise, I'm going to work on my forearms. A very simple exercise, just grab a barbell behind your back and let the barbell sit on your fingers, edge of your fingers, and then slowly start rolling it up towards your forearm. When you're rolling it towards your forearm, just focus on getting your pinky finger as close as possible to your inner forearm, and that's where the squeeze happens for your forearm. I've done 3 sets of it and as many repetitions as possible. For my next exercise, I chose to do lying down crunches. I started with a decline angle to see how much difficulty it would be, and it was quite difficult. I was unable to get more than 12 repetitions because I felt the amount of work my abdomen was doing post those squats was a lot. But still, remember, the cue is still the same. You breathe in as you straighten out, and as you want to crunch, you breathe out. You breathe out all the air out, and then you crunch and squeeze your abdomen. You need not get up completely up, because that way I feel a lot of hip muscles doing the work. I just get halfway through and squeeze my abdomen as much as possible. For my second and third set, I've slowly decreased the amount of decline, basically raise the bench a little bit to make it a little bit easier for me to do the crunches without failing on number of repetitions. Now you can do two types of crunches. One is rep based, where you can target 12 to 15 repetitions, and the other is time based, where you can put a stopwatch in front of you and try to hold into the tension as long as possible till you hit failure. What you want to choose is absolutely at your choice. I like to do it reps because I'm still not at the level wherein I can do high amount of time crunches. I would definitely cramp. And that's it for today. And I move on with my exercises. At least I move on to my static stretches. uh, we have done this earlier. This is a regular static stretch, nothing out of the ordinary, simple leg holds to ensure our quads and our hamstrings are stretched. For quads, it's basic holding your feet up high and making sure you stand in a straight line. You can always use a support if you require. For hamstrings, just place your leg at a height if you want to do it seated. Otherwise, I have done in my previous video standing also. Any which ways, this is a pretty simple principle. Make sure your leg is straight and try to get your toes towards your shins, and you should start feeling the stretch immediately. Thank you for joining me. If you did like the video, please drop a like. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would definitely appreciate a subscribe. It's a easy workout, pretty simple, but a lot of volume still. If you have gotten the 5 sets of squats in with the 3 sets of warm up, that's almost 7 sets of squats. With 8 to 10 repetitions, you can amount up to 70 repetitions of squatting alone. So, again, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you and have a good day.